So what's the story of this house?
Not a happy one.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 teen drama characters with the saddest backstories.
So all this time you've been pretending to go to school while you're running around Rosewood with my children.
I'm your child too.
Let me help you, okay? I can talk to my dad. He can help you.
No one can help me.
Mercy is for the weak, Niklaus.
For this list, we'll be sticking to American dramas that premiered within the last 20 years. Did we miss the saddest backstory? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, Veronica Mars. Veronica Mars. Before the start of the show, V was living her best life. She was dating her best friend's brother and was part of the most popular group of kids at her school.
It's not like my family met the minimum net worth requirement. My dad didn't own his own airline like John Enbaum's or serve as ambassador to Belgium like Shelley Pomeroy's. But my dad used to be the sheriff, and that had a certain cachet.
Then her boyfriend dumped her, and her best friend was murdered. And when her dad, the sheriff, accused the wrong person of the crime, he was voted out of office.
Look at this. She cries.
The shame of the ordeal drives her mum to drink and eventually abandon the family. Nonetheless, V stands by her dad and loses all of her friends. The life change could make anyone want to crawl into bed and cry. But Veronica pulls up her bootstraps and uses her trauma to turn her into a great detective.
It's a long shot, but I can't help myself. I used to think I knew what tore our family apart. Now I'm sure I don't. But I promise this. I will find out what really happened, and I will bring this family back together again.
Number 9, Elena Gilbert. The Vampire Diaries. This main character unfortunately learns how to handle loss after loss at a very young age. Before learning of the world of vampires, her life was already off to a rough start, having been born a doppelganger.
You look like Catherine. I couldn't believe the resemblance. After that, I spent months making sure that you weren't her.
Then, at just 17 years old, she is in a car crash that kills both her adoptive parents and is left in the custody of her barely adult-aged aunt.
Your first day of school and I'm totally unprepared.
Seems rough, but all that happens before she meets her vampire beaux and her real time of sorrow begins. By the time she starts college, she is left taking care of her also grieving younger brother Jeremy. Fans complain Elena can be too whiny, but we think after all she's faced, she has an excuse.
Every inch of this house is filled with memories of the people that I love that have died. My mom, my dad, Jeremy and Jenna and Alaric, John, even John. I mean, they're all dead. Everyone is dead.
Number 8, Stars Stalinsky, Teen Wolf. Mischief, as he was known to his mum, had a tough time working his way through the mysteries of high school and becoming a werewolf. But the hardships of his life started long before that.
But thinking you were having an asthma attack actually stopped the panic attack. Irony.
How'd you not do that?
I used to get him after my mom died. Not fun, huh?
When he was young, his mother was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. Her disease caused her to fear and once even attack her son.
Stop it! Stop looking at me!
Eventually, she dies in the hospital while Stars' dad is at work, leaving him to witness his mother's death alone. That's enough to devastate anyone, but he keeps his heart and remains a sarcastic, funny, and outspoken character.
Yeah, it's called Heartbreak. About 2 billion songs written about it.
Number 7, Ryan Atwood, The OC. At the start of this show, Ryan faced a huge lifestyle change when he was taken in by the Coens. Before moving to Newport Beach, he faced bad parents, a tough relationship with his brother, and continual abandonment.
Don't let him rot in there. Just like his dad's doing. And just like his brother's gonna.
When he was young, his father was an alcoholic, violent, and then sent to prison for armed robbery. His mother was also an alcoholic and very reproachful. She eventually abandons him after he gets into trouble with his brother.
Explain
You
now.
abandoned me, you threw me out, you just took off.
I know, honey. I was... And AJ and
to drinking and...
All of his misfortune led him to meeting Sandy Cohen, and we're pretty glad he got the life he deserved with his new family.
Well, there's a no return policy now, you know that.
Number 6. JJ Maybank, Outer Banks. This surfer's impulsiveness and quick temper probably comes from a pretty tumultuous relationship with his father. Luke Maybank is a drug addict and alcoholic who frequently mistreats his son. More than that, the two are often shown fighting back and forth.
Shut up! You tell me where you gonna get 30 grand now! Get your ass in it!
No one deserves what JJ has put through. So no hearts were broken when he snapped and not only fought his dad back, but told him he was no longer afraid.
All I ever did was try to scare me! Well, guess what now? I'm scared of you anymore.
It sucked to see JJ eventually helping his dad, but we were glad to see Luke leave. We just hope JJ ends up with the life he deserves.
It'll all work out.
No, it's not. But maybe in the next life.
Number 5. Peyton Sawyer, One Tree Hill. The Tree Hill resident was born to an alcoholic who decided to give her up for adoption.
So let's have it.
What's that?
The heart-wrenching yet inspirational tale of a young girl's complex decision to part with the daughter she desperately loves.
Actually, it's not that complex. At the time I got pregnant, I liked drugs more than I liked you.
And she started to have a good life with the Sawyers, sharing a special bond with her adoptive mum. But when Peyton was only 8, her mum was in a car accident and died.
I don't really remember her.
Oh, I do. She was a wily one. Your old man didn't stand a chance.
The grief of the loss drove a wedge between the young girl and her dad. He began working more while Peyton stayed at home alone, leaving her to grow up without a mum and only a part-time dad.
How long's it gonna be this time?
Well, seeing that it's in New Zealand, 3, maybe 4 months.
Of course, out of the loneliness sprouted her on-again, off-again friendship with Brooke. Number 4. Justin Foley, 13 Reasons Why. Like many other entries, the hardships of his short life started at home.
Either he goes or I go.
Look at you, Pierre.
Justin never knew his father, and his mother was neglectful. She was a drug addict who always chose her boyfriends over her son. These boyfriends would physically and verbally maltreat Justin. On top of that, he and his mother were living in poverty. Throughout the show, he did have people who cared about him, like Clay and his family. But unfortunately, right when it seemed like he might be able to turn his life around, his tragic past repeated itself and eventually led to Justin's early end.
Bring me something to take this pain away.
Number 3. Callie Adams Foster, The Fosters. At first, Callie almost seems cursed. When Callie was only 10 years old, her parents were in a car accident that killed her mum and put her stepdad in prison.
The night she died. Oh, Cal. I should have kissed her goodbye.
She and her younger brother were then put into the foster care system, where they moved from home to home, often facing pain and suffering. When the siblings were finally placed in a home that seemed safe, their new foster brother assaulted Callie and got them kicked out.
You have no idea how sorry I am. Sorry we ever brought you into this house.
And unfortunately, that meant it was back to harmful households. Fortunately, Callie did eventually find her forever family in the Adams Fosters and used her experiences to try to help others.
You stop loving. That's no way to live.
Number 2. Charlotte De Laurentiis, Pretty Little Liars. Cece had quite a childhood.
For the next 7 years at Radley, I was almost completely alone.
It must have been awful.
You think?
When she was very young, she accidentally hurt her baby sister, and her adoptive parents decided to put her in the same mental hospital she was born in.
This wasn't the first time, Jess. We're doing the right thing. We can't risk him harming Jason or the baby.
She was then forced to spend the rest of her childhood in Radley. We feel like almost all the harm she caused could have been prevented if her parents had gotten her help, instead of hiding her away her whole life.
I just wanted to be with my family.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Raven Reyes, the 100. She grew up with an alcoholic, neglectful mother.
It's okay. Here's the takeaway. You have to be willing to die to really live.
Octavia Blake, the 100. She was locked up for the crime of being born a second child.
ID now.
Malia Tate, Teen Wolf. Her birth mum tried to kill her and she accidentally killed her adoptive family.
I want my family back.
Ricky Underwood, The Secret Life of the American Teenager. His parents were drug addicts and his father was abusive.
The reason I'm in foster care is not just because my dad smacked me around and smacked my mom around. It's not just because they were both drug addicts and abandoned me over and over again.
Craig Manning, Degrassi, The Next Generation. His mother died when he was young and his father treated him very poorly.
What are you doing? Are you looking for...
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Klaus Michelson, The Vampire Diaries, and The Originals. As a boy, Klaus was loving and wanted love in return, but his stepfather beat the compassion out of him.
You are pathetic. If you are determined to prove yourself a weakling, I should cast you out! Better your brothers not be exposed to a coward!
He was never good enough for Michael, who constantly abused him. Things got even worse when his mother used magic to protect the family, turning them into vampires, which revealed that he was really the son of a werewolf, not Michael. His stepfather made his wife use magic to turn his werewolf side dormant, and then abandon him.
She was just afraid. I'm sorry she turned her back on you. I will never do that.
He spent the next millennium running from his stepfather and trying to reignite his inner werewolf. Once he was a full hybrid, he had a daughter, Hope, who also had a rough time, inheriting her father's enemies.
Nothing is going to harm my little girl. Nothing will even get close. You're all that matters to me.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.